Hey fellas, welcome to another episode of Coach Moak. This is actually episode number 20, and I'm here with another interview of a dear friend of mine, someone who's personally made an impact in my life going back to 8 years old. He is Kevin Duncan. He's known as Air-Kev, and we are going to actually sit here and talk a little bit. I'm really excited. Welcome to the show, my man.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, so glad you're here. I want to talk about, we're going to start early. Tell us a little bit, maybe, where you're from, your childhood, where you grew up. We'll talk a little bit about family, and then we'll just go from there. So, Kevin, where are you from, man?
I am born in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay, what area of Cincy?
Cincy, I've been all over the place in Cincinnati. I grew up in Evanston.
Okay.
Evanston, down near Walnut Hills High School.
Okay, that helps, yeah.
Yeah, and then I lived near Vine Street. Clinton, yes.
Before what it is now?
Yes.
Like some of it, yeah.
Yes, totally, yeah. So I've been all around, mainly there, and I lived briefly in Akron, Ohio.
Really?
There for fourth grade. Oh yeah. Fourth grade for me when I was younger was a traumatic experience with my parents and everything separating and everything.
And that was pre-Bron. That was pre-LeBron.
Yeah, definitely. Pre-LeBron and Steph, because both of them are in the same hospital.
Oh wow, that's a special hospital for basketball.
Yeah, exactly. And then when I was turning 10, then I moved up to Hamilton.
H-Town.
H-Town.
What part of Hamilton did you grow up in?
Oh my gosh. So in Hamilton, right off of Nicebridge Drive on Carver Place.
Okay.
For Carver Place, and I was living with, me and my mom were there living with my brother. And so
did you go to Harrison?
I went to Harrison. Nice. Wildcat, Harrison.
So
Wildcat.
that put you at Garfield then, after that, is that correct?
I went to Wilson.
You did?
7th and 8th grade.
Okay.
And then I went to Garfield, ninth grade. Yep.
Let's talk. So you kind of alluded to roughness. So let's lean into that for a second. So what do you mean by rough? Because I know that how we're raised, the environments we're in, they can make us or break us. They do a little bit of both.
Yeah.
So how would you, unpack the people in your life and what's kind of shaped you?
Well, growing up in Cincinnati, it was a weird dynamic. My father, he was a construction worker, and during that time, he dealt with a major accident. He fell 2 stories.
Oh my! So trauma.
Oh yeah, in his head or whatever.
Which they wouldn't have talked much about that back then.
Yeah, exactly. But he was very protective of me, and it was so weird. It was like I lived in the hood down there,
right?
But between my dad, he got this big settlement or whatever. Oh. Okay, and my mom, she was an LPN charge nurse at Drake Hospital and stuff like that. So we did good in the 70s.
I see.
And so I'm one of, was it 5 or 6? But my mom remarried.
I see.
So I was the baby.
Okay.
My brother Steve, he was like 25 years old. Yeah.
So you had a couple of dads.
Well, yeah.
What I mean is, a brother at 25 years.
Exactly.
So you had men imparting in your life early.
Yeah, I would say mainly when I first moved into him, because one thing about the dynamic of my father was he was an alcoholic too.
Aha.
And so
that could speak to a lot of men out there.
Yeah, and he was abusive. He was abusive. I mean,
sorry to hear that.
But during that time, it would be the controlling part of it was even though we lived in the hood, I wasn't allowed to go out at all. I wasn't allowed. He was very protective of me. And
so very fearful in his raising, the way he raised you.
And
also, fear always translates as anger.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And I was kind of like his pride and joy, very spoiled. Being there, we had 9-room house. We had 5 cars, and
my goodness.
Oh yeah, he had. I remember his prized possession was a Ford Cobra, and I just remember that Cobra on the hood. Yeah, and I wasn't allowed near it or anything like that. Yeah.
But I was shocked to know was that although basketball has now become a big part of who you are, and everything that you do, that wasn't the only sport you played, and there was one in particular. that you played more of and took you pretty far. I mean, as far as a sport. And what was that?
Tennis.
Tennis.
Yeah, that's my quiz.
I know people don't know that,
This
man.
quiz question. Former coach Mark Downs, he used to, at Hamilton High, used to always joke and quiz that people about that.
Sure.
He was the only varsity black tennis player for Hamilton High. It was Kevin Duncan.
Has there been any since? That would be the bigger thing.
Probably has. I have no idea, but
You
I was
might
kind
have
of
pioneered
like
something there.
pioneers or whatever. Because I was 14 at the time, and when I was here in Hamilton, my brother-in-law, he was one of the you would say managers or whatever for Walnut Hills Tennis Club, and my mom was like, "Hey, I gotta get you out of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
You're gonna spend time with him."
Wow.
I was like,
there it is.
Like,
male influence again.
yeah, I was like, you done lost your mind, because I'm thinking, I don't know any black tennis players except for Arthur Ashe, you know what I'm saying? So you done lost your mind. But once I committed to doing that, it was the best decision of my life.
Wow.
There's a discipline in tennis, but it also transcended into basketball.
Sure.
Because you understood angles and everything else.
doubt.
I was very athletic. Now you see me jump around and everything when I was younger, but
That speaks to something. So we'll talk about when you were younger, because I'm 8 years old. I have family that's in the Boys and Girls Club on top of the hill there off of Grand, and in Hamilton. And I pay my 10 cents and go play around, and I found out there was a league there. So it may even have been free. I don't remember. If it was money, it wasn't much. And I met you. I loved going to the Boys and Girls Club. It was an incredible environment, lots of fun, lots of friends, super cheap, and you could play everything under the sun. But then there was a Saturday morning league, and you end up being my coach with my cousins, and just loved you, fell in love with you. And one of the things that was really cool was you could jump out of the gym. So you would demonstrate dunks for us and all kinds of stuff. And I just thought it was Michael Jordan and then Kevin Duncan to me when I was young. I'm just going to be honest. That's so funny. Yeah, and then I grew up and realized that you weren't Michael Jordan. But all that being said, that was significant influence. So you made an impact in my life as a very young man, and we've stayed friends and connected for many years and collaborated on things through the years. So this interview today is just bringing me a lot of life. I'm excited to have you today. So basketball played a role early at some level, or not that much, or was it more later on?
Well, also too, a lot of people didn't know this, I was in youth ministry. And so during that time, it was just like my passion and everything, and also the demands at that time, being that young of being a youth pastor.
Yes.
I was in the church all the time, and it was almost frowned upon if I wasn't there.
Sure, absolutely.
And so the only thing comparable
you lay down your life, literally.
Yeah. And so the only thing comparable to my schedule at that time was tennis, because it was like, boom, you're done. You're done. So that's why people said, "What? You never played basketball?"
Right.
I had the desire to do it.
Yeah.
But my passion, my burn for that time was just always, being there. So it's one of those things people say, "Oh, you missed out." I said, "No, I didn't miss out on anything," because a lot of the things you look at in your life and say, what if, could if, what if, like that. Because now I have my beautiful wife and everything due to that,
No doubt.
Because especially now with what I'm doing, I would never imagine that I'll be traveling the world because of around basketball. You know what I'm saying?
And that definitely, we're going to get to that for sure and talk about how God has leveraged your passion for the game and for people. One more thing before we move out of childhood and we'll move into something else. What did you observe, learn, positive, negatively about manhood growing up?
About manhood, especially, the negatives from my father.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was just like
we all got daddy issues.
Yeah, we all have dad issues, and the fear that I dealt with, and then when I came to the Boys and Girls Club, and even before that, through my brother Steve, very patient with me. My brother-in-law Wade, you're awesome men of God.
So people filled the gap.
Yeah, they filled
where your dad
gap.
wasn't able to meet that.
Exactly. And then my mentors, Daniel Carr, Marvin Bonar, and Frank Thorman.
Those are some throwbacks.
Yes, exactly. And they really stood in the gap for me and everything.
Amazing.
And really showed me how to be a man in a sense, because it was just me and my mom when we came here with nothing on our backs, you know.
Sure.
And when I was young, used to having everything, and there was a time I was kind of rebellious too. It was like I was so used to having my own things. And then I remember, excuse me, I went to a phase of, you know, being so entitled, because I was so used. I remember being young, and I would be in a toy store, and I broke something by accident or whatever, and my mom would get on me. My dad said, "That's my boy. If he breaks it, I'll buy him something else."
Interesting.
And that's how he was.
So that actually molded you negatively.
Yes. I had a pop machine in my house. Pop machine.
So did life break you off that over time, or just maturing, or people teaching you differently?
It's a combination.
Yeah.
It's a combination.
Because at some point you got to be humbled.
It's a combination.
Right?
It was the main humbling experience was this, because I remember to the point that it was just me and my mom now. So I was just used to having what I wanted.
Yeah.
You know.
Did your dad just leave? They separated?
They separated. Yeah, and it became very abusive.
Gotcha.
You know.
Well, it's good that she was able to get out of that.
Yeah,
you guys were able to get out of that.
And then coming here to Hamilton, my mom, we were struggling at times, and I wasn't used to that, you know. And there was a little bit of time in between there. We were homeless.
Wow.
We were homeless because we.
That's humility.
Yeah, yeah, definitely in a runaway shelter. And
wow.
I remember the place that we stayed was right across from the Cincinnati Zoo. And so we would get passes, and right there on Vine Street there.
That was your entertainment.
All the time. Yeah, but
wow.
But with the men in my life, it was just like I went to a phase where I took things from my mom.
Wow.
And then it broke my mom's heart.
Sure.
Big time. And
but when you're used to getting whatever you wanted,
exactly.
How do you transition from that?
Well, I had to come to Jesus meeting with my brother.
Really? Here we go, a man stepping in. I love it.
And so I remember to this day, it was like I knew it was coming. So he pulls up, and Steve wasn't a yeller or anything like that. He just had this look about him. And so he told me to get in the car. And it was just quiet. I was like, get it over with, get it over with, you know, get this over with. And he's like, I don't know who you are. You're not my brother.
I had to hit you.
And you did this to our mom. My mom. This is what we're going to do. We're going to drive to my house, and we're going to fist fight in the front yard.
Wow.
And so I'm
tough love.
13 at the time, and he looked into my soul, and I knew he wasn't joking. And I'm crying and everything. I just knew. And my brother Steve, he's very athletic and everything. Oh my gosh!
So you knew.
And I've never seen this out of him before, and it just
But there's something to be said. Like that was your experience.
Yeah.
It worked for you. We wouldn't in any way say that's a playbook that you want to play. But the reality is, a man stepped into your life, brought truth to you, and told you, like I would tell my boys, there's always somebody bigger and badder.
Exactly.
So we can't just conduct ourselves however we want. And if it's not going to be somebody, it's going to be the law. Yeah. It's going to be the Lord. It's going to be someone that's going to humble you. So act the right way.
In some form.
Exactly. All right, so moving on to the story. So we talked a little bit about childhood, about, you know, growing up, your mom, your dad, your brothers, the impact of their life. I want to kind of shift towards, obviously we could spend a lot of time there. Your childhood is everybody's childhood has a lot of layers to it. But obviously it molded and shaped you. And then you started seeing, obviously, basketball, the call that you had in your faith, the desire to make a difference. Me being one of those. And there's so many people, through whether it was airbrushing in your arts or basketball, you always had people on the fringe around you that didn't have fathers. And you mentored them and you loved them where they were. You even lost some, and it's really been tragic stories in your life. Like there's been so much that I look at you and say, you're a walking, talking, it's you and Jesus in ministry all the time. That's what you've always been, and I just adore that. So for decades you've mentored young men and women. What took you that direction? I mean, when did you kind of own the leadership and influence role in your life? Well, how old were you, and what brought that about?
I would just say when I was at the Boys and Girls Club, when we had the Leaders Club.
You had structure already there, yeah?
Structure always there. It was already presented there. The foundation was already laid through Frank. I always just remember Frank. It was just like every time I would come to Frank, he wouldn't say anything before he would just hug me.
Frank was amazing.
And I learned how to hug through Frank.
Like another guy.
Yeah, another guy.
In general, yeah.
And he was and that's just one thing I took from him. And
what was Frank's last name?
Thorman.
Frank Thorman, man.
Yeah.
That was the one you mentioned earlier. What a great man.
And he was just so giving.
Yeah.
And he, from each of them, I just, being with Marvin, I get rides with him almost all the time going back home, and sometimes I didn't even eat, and there we are, and
so how long have you been I would call influencing and mentoring people, whether it's through basketball, church? What are we talking now?
Oh gosh, it's I can.
Are we pushing 40 years?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Yeah.
I know I put in here over 30. I know it was over 30. So over 3 decades, you have selflessly invested in other people. And man, I'd love for whoever watches this, make a comment and say, I'm one of them, because it would be incredible to see that. So you've done a lot of things locally, Cincinnati area, Hamilton, we're in Mason right now. At what point did you realize that this thing was more than just teaching how to bounce a basketball?
The same dynamics, of basketball to me it's just about life in general, having, 5 positions on the floor. It's like a hand, it's just like how the hand operates. And I understood, there's a lot of individuality in basketball too, but the ones who really get the ring are the ones who understand how to work together.
Properly share the rock.
Yeah, exactly. And so with the game of basketball now, my whole deal is about, I have players who play at high levels, but the whole deal is my mission is just to teach life principles with the game of basketball, and just, when a player comes to me, my job is to show them how bad they are. I'm not going to make them better. Their goal is to look for weaknesses. Okay, and then they learn how to work away from me more than anything. So that's the
awesome.
Number one.
The ones that really progress will do that.
Exactly.
That's incredible. Now we're in a location here in the Mason area. You said you have another location too?
Yeah, I have 2 other locations. Another one's right down the road at Grace Chapel. Okay. Right there in Mason.
Nice.
Mason right there, and also in Goshen, Ohio too. Nice. That caters to a lot of the people. I used to partner with a good friend of mine, Daniel Smith, in Georgetown, Ohio.
Okay.
I was there for a little while during the pandemic, and so he had a skill lab. The organization I'm with is called I'm Possible Training.
Okay.
And so Micah is the largest basketball organization in the world. Micah works with Kyrie and all these guys, and I got certified with him about 2015.
Okay.
And so that's the best decision of my life I made.
Amazing.
It was really
love that. So whether it's camps, personal instruction, I mean, we're talking about how you're in the Philippines now. We'll get to that in a moment. In your experience, 30 years of mentoring kids, I feel like you have an anointing for young men. And what I mean by that is you have a special track to their hearts to help them grow, to work through trauma, to work through everything you can imagine and help them grow into men. What have you come to realize that young men are searching for? What has been your thing that kind of just lights up when you see them and go, this has been consistent with men? What are they looking for?
Identity. It's identity. I can imagine, growing up in this day and age. I really feel for, young people now, because there's too many voices.
Yeah.
And with social media and
no
everything
social media
like
in the 80s and 90s, baby.
No, Lord have mercy. Yeah, exactly. With that, and then when you look to something, you can't even really trust your own eyes with AI and everything.
No, you can't.
And it's really hard. It's really hard.
No. And I don't like AI because every time I ask it to do a picture of me, it makes me older. And I don't appreciate that at all.
I'll give you some tips.
Okay,
I'll give you
so
some tips.
much.
I've taken like 3 AI classes, so I'm pretty well versed.
Okay, good. I'm gonna need it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've established, your childhood, your a little bit of your why. Definitely, what you just said, identity. I see that so much myself. Even at 47, I find myself in that crucible every once in a while because of extra voices that I've invited in my life that maybe I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
It's just the way it goes today. So you've worked with hundreds of kids over the years. You're working domestically here, internationally. Before we go into this next part, I would like to kind of talk a little bit about, to help our audience, especially young, because I have a decent amount of young followers. I'm talking the kids you're mentoring, ages from 12 to 20, a lot that are following. They're a lot of my friends, of my sons. So what separates the ones who grow from the ones who kind of get stuck in your experience? Because I know you, like Jesus said, like the ones that you've given me I've not lost, but then there are some that you lose. What's been the difference maker for you?
Connection. It's connection.
Okay.
That life source. It's just like being able to be humbled and understand that I don't have the answer. And when you have that lifeline of someone.
Coachability.
Yeah. And no matter what you do, someone who's unconditional with you,
Yeah.
no matter, and you're able to go to that person, to me, that's the biggest part.
Because men struggle so much, they can, even with social media, can be isolated.
Oh yeah, and
I got this.
Yeah, and even harder now. And I was just looking at this a couple weeks ago. AI is on the verge. I can sit here and I practice my Tagalog. I can speak into it, and it's just like I'm talking to you right now.
Wow.
And there's so many people who are disconnected to the human touch.
Sure.
And it's even more so because the AI thing it doubles in power like every 4 months. Things. And now
scary.
it's just like I can sit here and have a conversation, and I've seen stories of people who are totally secluded and they don't want anyone else.
They get depressed and become suicidal.
Well, but they have this device,
Yeah.
and this is everything they want, everything they need right here.
Because they can control it too sometimes.
Sometimes.
Those algorithms are interesting.
Exactly.
So I've watched you. I've had my boys come to you in the past. Basketball in our family was always kind of the extra sport.
Yeah.
So we didn't invest as much into it as we did baseball because that was my track.
Exactly.
But I watched how much you instilled discipline, consistency, hard work, and fundamentals. So when we're talking about fundamentals on the court or within the sport that you play, every sport has fundamentals. I also speak to the fundamentals of life. And I feel like as I watch sports, we're getting further and further away from fundamentals. Like individuality in baseball, basketball, football, all the major sports. It's look at me, look at my brand, get my NIL, look what I can do with the ball. So I'm sure you felt that battle of what used to be the 80s era of basketball, 90s era of basketball. It was always fundamentals first, team, and then whatever you can do to help us. But it seems like it's flipped. So fundamentals, let's talk about that, both in basketball and life. Why does it seem to matter, and do you have something to say to that?
Well, first of all, when people ask me about, do you teach fundamentals? Then I ask them, what is a fundamental?
Great question.
So a lot of people say fundamental, they throw that word all the time. And for example, got to go back to the fundamentals. What's the fundamentals?
Yeah,
well, what is a fundamental? For example, quiz you.
Please.
Famous Laker, notable shot, won 6 rings, often left out in the GOAT debate, but had a signature shot, a form that no one else.
Kobe Bryant.
No.
I missed it?
Yes.
Are we going old school?
I would say 80s.
So that wasn't West because he was before then, right?
Yes.
I don't know.
Kareem.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Kareem, the sky hook.
Yeah.
So for example, have you ever seen a sky hook?
No, and you rarely teach it, if ever.
You ever seen a sky hook? Camp.
No. Right.
But that
Good
was
point.
a fundamental move for.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So to me, what fundamental is, what works for you may not work for me. You know, and so we had these labels on everything. So like, for example, when a kid comes to me and our parent talks about fundamentals or whatever.
Interesting.
For example, like if I'm teaching like stops, the very first type of stop a basketball player will learn in a young age is a jump stop.
Jump stop, yeah.
Why do coaches teach jump stops? Because right there at that moment, the biggest contributor to them blowing the play points is scoring, finishing. And so they'll teach them the jump stop to stop them and to power, into the shot to control them. How many jump stops do you see in high-level basketball?
I don't ever see it.
So that's that's at that time.
It's a fundamental that fades.
You understand what I'm saying? So the whole point, like when a player comes to me, I'll teach them like there's 13 different two-footed stops.
Ah, gotcha.
And so what works for you, and the biggest power of the jump stop is when you land simultaneously, you can choose either foot to pivot off of. You have to understand the power. So I give a player weapons, and then they understand the power of it. So I don't say when they use it.
I think I'm hearing you right. So you would be more of, let's observe the athlete, their body type, who they are. Let's see how they want to stop, or maybe how they might stop. And then we can work from there versus saying this is a cookie cutter approach.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to learn how to stop.
You got to learn how to stop. Depends. Like, for example, I'll get a kid who's very fast. And the ultimate basketball player to me is high to low, slow to quick, skinny to wide. And a lot of the problems with my fast players, they don't know how to stop. And so basically it's like it's like the old iPhone.
Yeah.
The old iPhone, you had to use your thumb. And so normally coaches do today, what they'll do is they'll take one drill and say, well, we got the whole picture. But what I'll do is like the thumbprint, okay? Yeah. If I try to get you into a split through, okay, their stance may be too skinny.
I see.
So the coach may say, oh, that looks good. They're not losing the ball and they're doing it quick. Yeah, that looks good. But then when I look at it, it's fake. Because if I'm really skinny, and they could be really tall, but I have a fifth grade kid with a wide stance, they can't access a line. Yeah. So I have to teach them how to get wide. Their back foot, a lot of times they're on their toe, which is a sign of them going straight. You can't go straight because you have that object or that person in front of you.
You've limited yourself, yeah.
So I teach a flared foot, which they learn how to be shifty. So if you buy a Kyrie shoe, if you notice he has tread on the side of the shoe.
Yes, he does.
Because he's very shifty. The shoe isn't made for your kid, the shoe is made for them. So there's a shifty player. Like LeBron's shoes. When I first wore one pair of LeBron's, it was like a boot.
Correct.
Because I wanted at Kings Island at the time, and I put it on, it felt like a boot to me. Get out of my way.
Correct. That makes total sense.
And so I teach players how to move. I look at the real movement.
Interesting. So let's transition that to real life, because my personality type is struggling to hear that, because I want to think everything's got 3 basic options, that's it. Everybody's got to fall into this mold, versus the approach that you have, which is, I would call that more of a soul approach, is what I'm trying to say, like evaluating the player, having a conversation with them. I could teach fundamentals all day, you know them, but learning how to mold with that individual. What about in life, as people that probably have much things in common with morality, ethics, faith? There are things that we believe to be absolute truths, but as we do life and journey, how would you transition that into real life? Could you, in this moment, what would that look like?
So basically, now when we're talking about fundamentals in life, so the basically is understanding this. Like if a basketball game is not perfect, your training with me should not be perfect. I'm a supplement to what a coach does. So when I work with Coach Andrews, I had to explain that to him. It's just like, I'm a supplement, but you just can't live off of a supplement.
Very good.
And so we're all needed.
So church on the weekend is a supplement.
It's a supplement.
It isn't the source.
And so what I do is I'm going to show you how bad you are. We're going to look for weaknesses. But the biggest thing is you got to do this stuff away from me. If you don't, the deal is I've been blessed. I've come to a point where I can kick you out of I don't need you.
Right.
And I'm just going to give you the raw truth. Kind of like a John the Baptist deal.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
I
saying?
love that, yeah.
Okay, and
they called him crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And so the whole point, you know, the kid goes, I want to play in the NBA. You're lying to me, you know, because you don't work. Just
Your
because,
worth ethic doesn't show that.
and the entitlement part of it. And so in life, just understanding that I'm going to struggle. I just need to learn how to work through it, and it needs to be disciplined. And when I say discipline, I learned Mike Tyson's discipline.
Yeah.
All discipline is doing things that you don't want to do. That's what
I just
discipline.
did a video on that.
You know.
Okay, we got to continue on. I knew that possibly our biggest struggle is going to be a time frame and staying within it, because I just, it's so rich. But I do want to get to talking about the Philippines. I think this was such a God thing. I think that COVID was a struggle for everyone, but COVID also gave us surprises that we didn't expect.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, that was kind of part of what leveraged this opportunity.
That's what started it all.
So talk to us about the Philippines and how one day I looked on Facebook and suddenly you're in the Philippines and you're telling this story about this one young man that's completely transitioned your life, your realm of influence, and you're about to leave again for the Philippines. So talk to us about the Philippines. How did it come about, and what is it?
Well,
and you're having to learn a new language.
Yeah, I've learned a new language. Well, and that's one of the things about it too. You know, in the Philippines too, a lot of people think like when you travel to the Philippines that you got to learn the language. In the Philippines, number two language is English. So you go there, you know.
Most know it for a little bit.
Exactly. They're number one almost call center. One thing I love about it is they have a sense of kapwa. Kapwa is just me and you are one. So we're very individualized here in the U.S.
Sure we are. Yeah.
So you make a meal.
We're brand.
Yeah. So in the Philippines, it's like they fix a meal, they intend to share it with you. So there's kain tayo, which means like, let's eat. Yeah. Let's eat. They're going to share. They're very giving people, very loving people. One of the top, 10 countries of hospitality.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Yeah, so, but the way this came about was during COVID, when I was in my new gym, everything was shut down.
Sure.
My friend Daniel Smith, he had his gym on his property. It was like 50-something acres. And so when everything was shut down, we were open.
Yeah.
Because it's on his property. And so this place was a Taj Mahal. So this one day, I'm sitting in there because we're getting ready to open, and I'm scrolling through Instagram, and I see this Filipino kid working with another friend of mine who I kind of mentor, Ryan Ang. And I seen this video of this kid doing this tremendous skill set with a little Gatorade bottle, and he's flipping it, and it blew my mind because I understood the dedication, the discipline it took to do the skill set. Then I looked to Ryan, I go, Ryan, who is this kid? He goes, this is Travis Cortez, you need to look him up. You can probably help him. So lo and behold, I go on Instagram, and he was already following me on Instagram.
Okay.
And so through I'm Possible, I don't know if you ever seen any of the rip cones that we have.
Yes, I have.
Well, Micah created the rip cone.
Okay.
My boss Micah, and so it's like world renowned.
Yeah.
And so, Travis, a lot of Filipinos, they have this big despair between the elite and the very poor. And so Travis, I'm looking through, and he's doing my drills.
But he's doing them with.
But he doesn't have a rip cone. His father made him a cone out of a water bottle and a disc.
Amazing.
And he would train for about 6 hours a day. And so we connected, and he asked to do like virtual training sessions because like for us, we try to get our kids outside to play. Well, in the Philippines, they weren't allowed to go outside.
Wow.
So he was literally stuck in his house for a year and a half.
Oh.
And so like if you went outside, the parents would get fined.
Wow.
And so we continued to work. I would send him videos. I gave him access to our app. He would do the workout.
Sure.
And I would critique it, and he would kill it. And then I would post it, And it became like a phenomenon. I was like, this kid is a machine.
So this eventually turned into a personal invitation over there, correct? Or did he come over
exactly.
Here
And so I was like, this kid, if anybody deserves a chance, I try to get kids to work.
Sure. Right.
And they just don't want, very entitled.
Right.
But here's a boy who, that's his dream. That's his dream. And so me and Dan, we had this, I said, I want to do a GoFundMe. Let's try to bring him here. And so there it went. And we raised about $5,000.
Awesome.
But then my naive self didn't understand the complexity in dealing with that. Because me and you, we just get our passport, and we're going, boom.
Yeah.
But in the Philippines, I found out basically what we had to do was, number one, I had to write a letter of invite to him and his family. Number two, we had to produce like bank statements, just assuring that we can, support them, because we don't want to bring someone over and we don't have money, they're stuck, And then also too, we also had to they had to give that letter to the consulate, and they had to make a decision. So his mom works for a call center for YouTube. And then also she was like, well, Coach, one of our relatives works for immigration. He said it's probably going to get denied because they tried to come to the U.S. for a funeral and was denied.
Denied, wow.
So I spoke to an immigration lawyer, and he says, Kev, be honest with you, okay, you think you know Travis and them, but laws are here for a reason. So if you brought them here to the land of milk and honey, what is the assurance they're going to return?
Sure.
And I really couldn't answer. He said it's going to get denied. And sure enough, it got denied.
So you had to move towards figuring out a way to get there.
Well, for a little bit, that span was, I was kind of depressed because it was hyped up. We were even on podcast shows in the Philippines, and became really big.
Yeah. Before you ever stepped foot there.
Yeah, and I had a good friend of mine now, Alex Crisano, former PBA player. He calls me up and he goes, Kev, there are a lot of people talking about you.
That's awesome.
I was like, why? I was like, why? It's like, what's going on? He's like, the only people who go to the U.S. from the Philippines, either you're rich, you're famous. Here you're trying to bring a 12-year-old boy and his mom and dad, over here. And he's like, you need to just be careful. You need to be careful.
I got you.
And so from that, Travis received a scholarship to a university called Sambeta, which is like going to Moeller.
Okay, gotcha.
Going to Moeller, free, playing for the Red Cups, Junior Red Cups.
Wow.
And so during that time, I was kind of depressed about it.
Sure.
But as you know how, God works.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, he needed a laptop, okay, because they're still virtual over there. Virtual, so we used the money from the GoFundMe. I say get the best laptop, everything he needed for schooling and everything. They don't have a car. So when things slowly started to open back up, he was able to use money for transportation, go to different coaches and stuff, shoes and stuff that he need, and that was the ram in the bush during that time. And so I said, well, he can't come to me. So the next thing was, I want to go there.
Amazing. So what's turned into that? Camps with multiple kids?
Yeah, so we now do the Dream Chaser camps.
Come on.
This is my official basketball.
There we go. There, let's leave that.
Official basketball.
You guys got your logo on there?
Yeah, got the logo, and there's the Philippines flag.
Oh, that's awesome.
And the company is Door Ride. Manny Pacquiao, this is, they sponsor Manny Pacquiao's league, his basketball league, and we came up with the Bolani Air-Kev, Ball of Air-Kev. And I nicknamed this after Travis, and his nickname is DC, Dream Chaser.
Love it.
Yeah, and so that's my official ball there.
So what's his story currently? How old is he?
He is 17 now. He is 17
so he's
now.
At the academy?
He just graduated. He just graduated. He still trains religiously. He got accepted into college. And so that's the next thing. And
Will
so,
he be playing basketball in college?
Yeah, hopefully, that's what we're going to work on when we get there.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, so it's been an awesome ride.
Air-Kev making a difference here and all around the world. I love that. I love that. What a great story. Let's move a little bit. So the vision of what I do here with Coach Moak podcast is helping men win in spirit, soul, and body. So as we kind of land the plane in the next 10 minutes or so, I want to shift towards, you can be as personal or as preachy as you want here. You take it wherever you want to go. But I've known you as a man who has emulated the Christian faith, desired to look like Christ in so much, a man of the word, you know the word well. And that's obviously something that I promote here. Anybody's welcome to this podcast, but I'm always going to let people know, hey, we're going to work on the spirit first. I believe that working from the inside out is the best way to operate. Yeah. So let's talk about spiritual foundation. For you personally, what has that meant to you, your spiritual journey?
It's just understanding. We all learn through this path of life and everything. And, you know, it's just understanding another mentor of mine that I kind of watch a lot. John Hope Bryan, he says we are, instead of human beings being, looking for that spiritual touch, we're spiritual beings.
There it is.
Having that human touch inside out.
Yep. We're
spiritual beings, having a human
It helps
experience.
Your perspective so much. Every day you get up and you go, I'm a spiritual being. I'm looking for God.
The human.
I'm looking for encounter.
Human experience. And so it's just in that walk and everything, is just trying to be transparent. And just each day, just my goal is to, if I encounter someone, I want them to say that, hey, my life is a little bit better because I'm Air-Kev.
What a life motto. Yeah. I love that. So I for many people, biblically, it's the same, but I kind of separate it spirit, soul, and body. I talk about the soul being your mind, will, and your emotions. Yeah. We talked a little bit about identity. Another thing I think it's important when it comes to the soul is confidence. Obviously, you see that as something that propels people in life or basketball. Why do you think so many young men are struggling in that area of confidence?
Again, with everything that's going on, the mindset of lies, the eyes, window to the soul.
And lies of the eyes.
Because of social media, big time. And because you can make yourself into anything that you want now. Yeah. You know, and it's just right here.
Absolutely.
It's just right here. And I just, it's being fed now, you know, even I just seen in California, they're starting to change the education system with the laptops and everything, because they're on laptops constantly, and then they're on these things all the time. And so there's screen time. And even I find myself, I have to learn how to adjust dealing with young people. With, you know, it's totally different when I look back dealing with you when you were younger to the kids that I'm dealing with now, the attention spans and stuff.
We had to create experiences.
Exactly. Yep. That's what I'm saying. Just like NBA 2K26, Mom, I remember the one time I was playing the video game. She walks in, it's like, oh, I didn't know the video game. I mean, I didn't know there was a game on today. I said, no, it's not the game. I mean, it's not the NBA. It's the
it looks that real.
It looks that real. Yeah. And it's like kids nowadays don't even know how to use their imagination.
Yep.
Because the machine does it for them.
Yeah. There's no doubt about that. So what for you personally has been a healthy rhythm? What have you found that works for you to stay grounded, to be strong in your faith, and how it's affected you positively? What would you say has kept you mentally focused or grounded in your life?
Well, again, like I said, my connection with the Philippines and stuff. So when I go there, you know, just seeing, you know, their struggle, but they're the happiest people. They have like 20 typhoons a year. And then like
something about hard times.
Yes. From June to September, they have that flux of all the rains and everything. Yeah. Things that get flooded. And they're out. I mean, the sanitation is kind of bad in some of the cities, inner cities there. And so it's flooded, and they're, you know, swimming, water guns, and they're, you know, but they've lost everything. They lost it. And
doing mission work and leaving the country is such a benefit. If you get the opportunity to do it, I'm sure Kevin would tell you, do it, because it can really And then it kind of brings it back to, okay, how do I respond to my everyday? And it's shortly lived a lot of times, but sometimes if it can ingrain one positive thing for you that you don't take for granted anymore, it's well worth it for sure. So for you personally, like, is there something that you do that you would suggest that other men should do? Like, is it scripture? Is it eating well? Is it meditation? Is it healthy relationships? Like, what do you do every day that has helped you be healthy?
It's everything.
It's all.
I mean, it's all of it. It's not just one thing. It's everything.
Is it intentional for you?
Yes, it's intentional.
Okay.
It's the intentional mindset. Not just feeding what the physical part, the food, but I try to do that also, even at my age and everything, just learning things and but my mindset. I'm a watcher. I just watch.
Okay.
I'm a watcher.
Observing.
You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. I mean, that's twice.
God gave us that for a reason, is a good reminder.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I try to live by too. And then people say, "Why are you so quiet?" And I find out if I speak a lot, I apologize a lot. So I just learned to understand how to humble myself and just watch. Learn from what you do right, learn from what you do wrong, and enhance myself from that.
Amazing. You kind of mentioned this earlier. We're going to land the plane here and wrap this up. What kind of legacy do you hope to leave? And you mentioned something about being a positive impact when somebody meets you. Do you want to expound on that, or is that pretty much it?
And again, like I said a little bit earlier, it's just the whole point that I want to just lay down just to people. It's just like, no matter what, there's no one right way to get like to your house. There's a lot of different paths.
Sure.
There's not one way, and again, just like when I train, what works for me may not work for you, and understanding that. But no matter what we do, it's just understanding that Kapwa experience, just we talked about in the Philippines, no matter what, we're still one. We're still trying to go to the same place. No matter what road you go, I can't say, well, that's not the right way to go, and I can't, look down upon you because of that. Everybody, a lot of things that happened bad in my life, and I learned this, it was kind of like the epiphany of experience when I started airbrushing. And I learned about negative and positive space. So I can take a piece of paper, and if I'm airbrushing you, just say a sphere or a circle, and I'm starting up a basketball, I can use a piece of paper and I can tear out a circle. And when I take that piece out, that's the positive.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what I want. But I can take that negative, that hole,
That's so good.
and airbrush and get what I intended from the beginning. And so
preach.
it's just taking that, a negative, so you can look at negative things, but now in the sense of not just saying now, oh man, that was so bad, but try to look for the good in it.
I love it. So I think that's another great trademark. Not only do you want people to meet you and walk away better for it, but also you want people to have healthy perspective on life and look at things, even if it's bad, what can we draw from that? How can we overcome? You're an overcomer, and to be able to help people with that, I think that's incredible. What gives you hope for the next generation? You're working with the next generation a lot, and I know a lot of people our age or even older are like, but is there anything that you could say that would encourage?
There's still a lot of people that are still, and with all the negative that you see and stuff, there's still a lot of people that are, who are transparent, and sincere, and that still gives me hope.
Love that.
Still gives me
I
hope.
love that. Okay. If you could challenge young men listening, people in general, whoever's listening, what's some advice you would give them? What comes to mind?
I would say expand your boundaries.
Expand your boundaries.
If you can, travel.
Love that.
Travel.
Love that.
When I walked in through the city of Alexandria, Egypt, and I couldn't, I'm looking and I'm next door to the Middle East, and I'm right there, and I just couldn't, I had to pinch myself.
Right.
I just couldn't believe it. But a lot of things that, through media we've been taught, And
Right.
and then
It's
I
their
was able to
perspective.
have that human touch. When I came back, it gave me a greater sense of confidence.
Love that.
A greater sense of confidence.
Love that.
And I found out also how small I was.
That's not a bad thing, by the way.
No, it was
really
a very good thing. It was a very good thing.
When the world wants to pump us up, that's not
Exactly.
always the best. Okay, 2 things left. I want you to finish this line for me, okay? So a man that wants to win must be willing to what?
Fail.
Willing to fail. Absolutely. And then learning from that. That's huge. That takes risk, right?
Yes.
To be willing to take risk. Okay, this has been awesome. I appreciate your time.
thank
I
you.
do want to end it with this. You've got a lot of connection points. You're relevant to the online community. Look in the camera and tell people how to connect with you.
The best way to connect with me, you can get on my website at airkev23.com, or you can reach out and call me on business at 513-837-1364.
I highly suggest if you're a young lady or young man that's wanting to advance in life, on the court and off the court, you want to connect with this guy, man. He's the real deal. This has been an awesome session. Appreciate you tuning in. This is Coach Moak continuing to help men win.